Earlier today, I gave my projection as to what the college football playoff rankings will look like tomorrow night. But for my top 25, I wanted to do it a little bit different this week, and this is the way I will do it moving forward. I'm simply going to base the rankings off of who I think would win if teams played head-to-head today. So we're talking about on a neutral field, the teams play, and they play at their best. Again, obviously anything can happen in a game, turnovers and penalties and all that stuff. But if these teams play at their best, who I think would win, and again, how the teams are playing at this point in the season. So I guess it, in a way, is a bit of a power ranking in terms of how I'm doing it, because it's not about resume. It's not about, what you've done all year. It's about how you're playing right now. And so that's the way I'm going to rank the teams here. Again, if you want to know how I think the playoff rankings are going to go, how the rankings should be based off of resume, which I think is how they should be ranked, how I'm about to show you these rankings, this is not how I would rank the teams. I don't think that this is the right way to rank the teams, but it's just simply who I think is the best. I'm just to give you my opinion. And so let's jump right into it, starting at the bottom. So I've got Washington State number 25. This is a solid football team. They've been pretty good. They've been pretty good this year. Would love to see them play more quality teams. Unfortunately, we're not getting that, but I think they're a solid team. And then Colorado at number 24, they're 6-2. They've looked pretty good. I know you look back at that Nebraska game and think, wow, they didn't look good in that game, but otherwise, they've been a solid football team. I feel like they've gotten better as the season has gone along. And they've got a great shot to win the rest of their games. A pretty favorable schedule. I think this is a top 25 team. I've got South Carolina number 23. Issues throwing the football throughout the season. It seems like that is starting to improve. They're getting that tight end involved. They're using Sellers in the run game. He is a weapon. Maybe not the best passer in the country, but he can run the football, and that matters. You can just look at Alabama. Jalen Milroe is not an elite passer, but he is such a dangerous quarterback because of his legs, and he's a capable passer. He's solid. Sellers could be a similar type player to Jalen Milroe, and I think he's on his way. A lot of young players on this team, they're starting to grow up, and this team, again, just pulled off a huge win over Texas A&M at home on Saturday night. Minnesota is a team that has played better as the season has gone along. Remember that game against North Carolina at the beginning of the season? That seems like forever ago, but this team has gotten better and better since that game, coming off of a very impressive win over Illinois. I've got Minnesota at number 22. Do they deserve to be ranked there based off of their resume? No, but I just think that they would beat South Carolina if they played this weekend, and that's a close one there. I think they'd beat Colorado, and again, it's very tight here with these teams. Iowa at number 21. Brendan Sullivan has now taken over at quarterback. The offense looks totally different. You question why he was not the starter from day one. I thought that all along. I mean, the kid played great at Northwestern last year. You come in to Iowa, Cade McNamara has not been great, and so I don't know why they didn't make this change sooner. I think they would at least be 7-2 right now and are still in the playoff conversation. But yeah, with him there, with the run game that they've got, the defense that's solid, Iowa is a tough team to beat here down the stretch. Unfortunately for them, again, they've already got 3 losses, and they're not in the playoff race any longer. All right, so 16 through 20. Iowa State at number 20. I think this is a solid team. They didn't play their best against Texas Tech, but still, again, I think this is a solid team when they play their A game. And again, that's how we're ranking the teams. We're not ranking them based off of how they looked when they were at their worst. We're ranking them based on how good they are when they're playing at their best or close to it. Pittsburgh at number 19. They've been a solid team all season long. Again, coming off that loss to SMU where they did not play well. Clemson at number 18. I thought they were a top 10 team, but after watching the Louisville game now, I'm not so sure. Was that just a bad game? The problem for them is we have not seen them play great or bring their A game against a quality opponent, and that's why I've got them at 18, because I'm still really not sure how good Clemson is. It seems like they were definitely overrated. Louisville number 17, they just beat them. I think you definitely would have to say Louisville is a better team than Clemson based off of the game that was just played. Again, that might have been Louisville playing at their best and Clemson at their worst, but still, I think they deserve to be at 17. I think they would beat Clemson, Pittsburgh, Iowa State, and these other teams. I think Boise State at 16, I think this is a good team. I know that, again, they haven't played the toughest schedule, but they played Oregon really tough, and they've won their other games. So I've got Boise State at 16. I think this is a solid football team. Next we go to 11 through 15. SMU at number 15. That offense continues to play really, really well. The defense has played solid at times. Do I think that they could beat some of these top teams? All right, so if they played this weekend, I do have one rule in terms of like resume. If they played this weekend on neutral side, I'd probably take SMU over BYU. I think SMU's gotten better and better. I know they had the sloppy game against Duke. But I do have the one rule here. So if a team has fewer losses and they beat a team head-to-head, I can't justify ranking. So I can't justify ranking SMU when they have a loss and BYU has 0 losses when SMU lost to BYU. So that's the one rule here in terms of like resume. I have to go by that. I cannot justify putting SMU ahead of BYU when they have one more loss and they lost to them head-to-head. But BYU, I think they're a good team, but I don't think, look, resume-wise, I said this in the projection video, they should be in the top 5. They really should. Their resume is that good. But I still am not sold on them being an elite team. I think they're a good team. I've got them at 14. Ole Miss at number 13. The way they're playing now, they might even should be higher in these rankings. You look at some of their performances as of late. They've gotten better and better. A team that kind of struggled early in the season, but Ole Miss is going to be a dangerous team, and they've got a real shot to beat Georgia this weekend. Texas A&M at number 12. Didn't play great against South Carolina, but we've seen them again when they've been at their best. This is a solid football team. And then Alabama at number 11. This one's kind of tricky because we've seen them look really, really good, and we've also seen them look pretty bad. So, it's almost like which one is the fluke? Is the good Alabama the fluke, or is the bad Alabama the fluke? I don't know, but I'm going to go with these rankings, this team playing more like their best. And when they're at their best, Alabama is a very good team. Let's go to the top 10 now. Penn State at number 10. Coming off of a tough loss to Ohio State, the passing attack is just not there, but their defense and their run game is good enough to beat most teams. I think they beat the teams behind them. Tennessee at number 9. The defense has been the story for the Vols. They've been very good on that side of the ball, which was a surprise. Nico is starting to get better. He kind of went through some tough stretches there, but I think he's starting to grow, and this offense overall will be good down the stretch. So Tennessee right there. I think they're a top 10 team. LSU, I know they've got 2 losses. Look, the USC game, that was a long time ago, and then their other loss came to Texas A&M. I felt like LSU's the better team in this game. They just got hit with that Marcel Reed change at quarterback, and they just didn't know what to do. It was like deer in the headlights. Defense was not prepared at all. And again, if you knew he was the starter and you prepared for that, and you look at the way the rest of that game went, I think LSU wins that game. So just again, my personal opinion, I've got LSU at 8. Now, if LSU had 3 losses and Texas A&M had 2, that's when my rule would come into play. I would not be able to rank LSU ahead of Texas A&M, but they both had 2 losses. I'm going with LSU. I think they're the better team, even though they lost that game. Miami at number 7. They just find ways to win. I don't know Miami has the talent. They've got the players, but they just, again, when they play their A game, they're a really good team, but they just don't always do that. Cam Moore, though, he finds a way to get this team victories, and he also cost them, like, makes some really bad decisions. He's had some bad interceptions this season, but I still think this is a good team, and I've got a number 7. Notre Dame at number 6. Again, I don't think the Northern Illinois team, or that performance, was the real Notre Dame. They just had a bad game, but when they have been at their best, this is a very, very good Notre Dame team. We go to the top 5. Indiana, I've got number 5. I think they're legit. I think this is a really good team. I think they'd beat those teams behind them. You put Alabama and Indiana on the field this weekend, I'm taking Indiana. Again, I think they are that good. Have they proven it? Not really, so I could be wrong, but that's just my personal opinion. Texas at number 4. Not playing as well right now, but I still think they have the pieces here to be a top 5 team. And that Vanderbilt win, that was a pretty good win. For as poorly as they played, they still found a way to get that win against a pretty good Vanderbilt team. Georgia at number 3. If Carson Beck would quit throwing interceptions, this might be the best team in the country, but that's a real problem. That's why I do not have them ahead of Ohio State. I've got the Buckeyes at number 2 and Oregon at number 1. if they played this weekend on a neutral field, I would have Ohio State winning that game. But again, my rule comes into play here. Oregon has one fewer loss, and they beat them head-to-head. So I have to put Oregon at number 1. That's, again, my rule for that scenario. You can argue this top 25 all you want. It really doesn't matter what your argument is because this is just my opinion. But I do want to know your opinion. So how would you rank the teams? And again, I want to make it clear. We're ranking the teams just based off of who you think the best teams are, who you think would win in a head-to-head performance. Give me your rankings for the top 25 down in the comments below.